Thank you so much for coming to our SLAM conference. It's been so awesome. We had such an amazing turnout and so awesome to hear everybody's different presentations, and everyone's been so amazing. So this has been awesome. Thank you so much. I just want to introduce Kristin Perkins real fast. Kristin Perkins is, she studies at BYU. What is your major?
Theater studies.
Theater studies. She's an amazing actress. I had the amazing pleasure of helping Kristin with a play that she did a few months ago back in October called Woman in Black with Echo Theater. And she was a stellar Woman in Black. Yeah, loved it. It was amazing. She was one of my favorites. There were only 5 of them. So. But she's an amazing advocate for the arts and a wonderful representative of the artistic community in our little neck of the woods. So let's hear it for Kristin Perkins and her presentation.
Stand here, is my face very yellow? Is that a thing?
Oh, it's yellow.
It's yellow?
If you just take like a step to the left.
I'll just need to, oh shoot.
Uh-oh.
Sweet.
Got it?
Does someone know?
Oh, there you go.
Okay, good. I'm gonna gingerly move this over so I can keep, no! Keep clicking, oh my gosh.
It's just a censored cord.
Okay, there we go, okay. Stepping carefully. Okay. Hi, everybody. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I'm going to count you, 7, 8. Okay, all 8 of you. I'm really excited that you're here. I genuinely am. I'm not being sarcastic. And maybe it's better it's a smaller group, because one of my hopes today is that we can have sort of a discussion about these things. So I'm going to present on collaboration between art forms and mediums, and how we can learn to speak the same language. And I want to be straightforward and open here at the beginning. I don't really have very many answers, which I know a lot of the presentations thus far have been sort of answer heavy and having a lot to do with sort of this self-help and how to progress forward. And hopefully this will be that for you too. But mostly I have a lot of questions, and I'm a little bit more interested in sort of opening a discourse around these questions of artistic philosophies than necessarily just talking about sort of how we can be leaders in our community. Does that make sense? Okay, hopefully a little bit. Okay, so, does someone want to read this quote for me? Please.
Unity is strength. When there is teamwork and collaboration, wonderful things can be achieved. By Maddie Stemhanek.
Right, and this is the perspective that I am going to be approaching this with, that collaboration is sort of inherently good. And that through collaboration, through teamwork, that we can sort of create art that is different and meaningful and better, essentially. Maddie Stemhanek is a poet and a peace advocate who died not too long ago. Okay, so, as I said, hi, my name is Kristin Perkins. I'm a theater student at BYU. I'm a performance artist. My emphasis is critical studies. Hey, come on. My emphasis is critical studies, but I do a lot of acting, and I do a lot of playwriting, and I do a little bit of directing. And I've always been interested in visual arts specifically, but also having some experience with film, music, all that good stuff. And this is actually, I chose this picture specifically. I look very stoic, I recognize that. I don't mean to be intimidating. But this is a charcoal drawing that one of my friends who collaborated with me in the project I'm about to describe did of my face, and it was very flattering. Okay, so that's me. I actually wanted to get sort of a read of the room. So we're going to go around, and if you could say your name, and then what art form you do. If it's not your major, what art form you're sort of most interested in, or if it's a hobby for you. And then if you could also tell me your favorite art piece, but it has to be an artistic piece from any medium that is outside your own sort of medium. Does that make sense, those 3 things? Okay, can we start here and go through?
My name is India, and I consider myself to be a craft bookbinder. And there's so much art. But something, I guess, that wouldn't be visual that lately, I really love Americana music, like bluegrass roots music. And lately I've been really interested in Parker Millsap, who's an American songwriter.
All right, my name is Tanner. The art I think I'm the most involved in is probably like instrumental music. I play piano, play the saxophone, so I do lots of that kind of thing. Probably my favorite piece that I like that's not in my general form of art is this. I found this rap called "Don't Stay in School." It's this guy I like it more like for like the messages that he like sends out because like I like just basically like the poetry that it is and then you like perform this. It's really cool.
Okay, back here. Yeah.
My name is Shelley. I am a theater major here at UVU. A favorite piece outside of like theater, film, and television?
Yeah.
Cool. I have no idea.
Music.
Music.
Favorite band.
Music, yeah, probably within music, but just like I'm into all sorts of music. I could mostly choose favorite. Don't at it. I'm sorry.
I'm Jocelyn. I love dance. I'm very passionate about dancing. But another medium that I also really love is Les Miserables.
Oh, cool.
Love that play. I love
Yeah.
the music. It's so, it's beautiful.
Not a ton of dance in a musical. Yeah.
Not too much.
We should do a dance interpretation of it someday.
Well, that's actually a good idea.
Okay, back in the back.
What I'm most involved in is probably like playing.
Sorry, your name too.
Oh, my name's Dallin. Sorry.
Okay.
What I'm most involved in is like playing instruments. I've been playing guitar for like 10 years now, and favorite piece of art. I really enjoy Claire de Lune. That's like one of my favorite songs of all time. And a different medium I really enjoy, I guess, is I just really enjoy theater and acting in general, but I don't participate in that whatsoever.
Very cool. Okay.
My name is Kayla, and I'm a theater arts major at SUU, and with an emphasis in stage management. And I love all art forms, so it's kind of hard to pick like an exact piece. I'd say music is the other piece that I'm very close with, but I don't really participate in music at all. But I can't pick like an exact thing
Okay.
for music.
Cool. Very cool. Can we do you in the back? Is that cool?
I don't do anything with art.
Do you have?
Oh yeah, my name's Angelica.
Okay, Angelica.
Yeah.
Any hobby? Any like? I sometimes doodle. Anything?
Oh,
like
I
that?
sometimes doodle.
You sometimes doodle. That's great.
That's about it.
And do you have like a favorite art piece? Like music? It doesn't have to be sophisticated. I think we tend to think of art in these sort of petty terms, but like rap or hip hop or
Wait, what?
One Direction.
Just any type of music.
Okay,
Yes.
you like music.
Yes.
Cool.
And I'm Nancy, and art firm, I'm not like an art student, but I really like rap. I'm a rap kind of girl, like smart rap. And I don't know what type of my favorite artist would be, but yeah, I don't know. I don't know.
Okay, we're doing a lot of I don't knows, and I think that's significant. And it works with what I would have to say. Okay.
My name is Mark Tolman. I want to be a video game designer / director, so basically take all the art forms and combine them. Something outside of that, I mean, like I would love to do a video game adaptation of the DC comic story Kingdom Come. They've only done that comic of it, which is a shame because the actual painting, they use paintings when they made that instead of just traditional art. So it's very beautiful to look at. It tells this great story about retired superheroes and stuff. So
Cool.
that's like Kingdom Come.
Very cool.
My name is Trevor, and we're doing favorite
type of art?
Yeah, what art you might be involved in, and then a favorite art, like either artistic type or
Okay.
specific art piece outside your medium.
Oh, shoot. I guess what art I might be involved in for like school. I'm a digital media audio engineering major here, so we're involved a lot with like rock and stuff like that,
Yeah.
and mixing like heavy metal or like we're actually doing an orchestra as well. But my favorite stuff is hip hop and rap. So I love it because it's easy to do, but it's hard to do it well, I think. And I love how it can be so repetitive, but so complex and like so simple at the same time. So
Yeah. Cool. Very cool.
So my name's Zachary. I really like music, and I'm not like a major here that deals with the arts. I'm actually a chem major, but
That's great.
so what an art form that I guess I like outside of that is the use of video games to help like teach people new ideas. So it's a rather new thing to use the idea for, and I just love inputting all of this kind of like artistic ideas to help teach students something new.
Very cool. Okay, I'll do myself really fast. Unless, do you want to do this?
Oh, I like to take pictures.
what's your name?
Oh, my name is Devin,
Devin.
and I like to take pictures. I like classical music. I've always wanted to learn to play, but I'm not dedicated enough to put the time into learning to play.
No, that's really cool. Okay, like I said, I'm a theater major, so that's the perspective I'm coming at this with. And you might see my bias throughout. I can't really help it. Okay, so that's where I'm coming from. And thanks. So, okay, what I got out of this, which I think is really interesting, is a lot of people said they don't sort of know something other than their medium, like they weren't sure, essentially. And I think this is significant because I have observed this a lot. I'm a senior at BYU, so throughout my sort of college career, I've seen this a lot. Where we go in our separate little like places in the building, our separate little rooms, and we don't sort of collaborate between mediums. So I'm going to tell you my story about collaboration. First off, okay, so about, oh my gosh, like a year and a half ago, two friends and roommates and I decided to do an artistic collaboration. I was a theater student, they were both visual arts students, and we thought it would be really cool to do something together. So we ended up just applying with these sort of basic ideas, and we ended up getting $2,250 in collaboration, which is a lot of money to just hand some students who are like, we want to do this thing. I think the college got really excited that we were going to try collaboration between mediums. So we ended up with all this money. And then we started working on it, we started talking about it, we started trying to like come up with ideas, and communication, for all intents and purposes, sort of broke down, and we weren't sure how to continue, and we weren't sure what we were going to do at all. We had a concept that we sort of applied to get money with. We got the money, and then that fell through, and we weren't sure what we were going to do at all. So we ended up, we went away for summer, we came back, we kept trying to talk it out. The deadline was approaching. The grants had given us a deadline. You have to use the money by this time. We got a little bit frantic. We ended up deciding to do 3 different projects. And they were around a theme. There was still some collaboration involved, but it was really 3 separate things. So if you went to Jocelyn's session just last time, that was sort of this great success story about collaboration. This is not quite a success story, and I don't mean to be pessimistic about it, but it was really hard. It was so hard to sort of find ways that we could talk to each other about art and what we wanted to do. We ended up doing the art project. We presented Striking the Set last November, And to be clear, it's still something I'm really proud of. It's still something that I think ended up mostly well. But the collaboration, what we hope to do, like this totally collaborative effort, just fell through. So I'm going to show you the project. This was our poster. We still said an interdisciplinary exhibition because we were still sort of exploring the interplay between theater and visual arts, but it was definitely not as collaborative. And then we ended up staging it in a house in a converted space. So this was our front room. This was all artwork done by my friends and roommates. This was a bunch of cardboard on the ground. It was really cool. Over here's a boutique. This picture doesn't do it justice, but these are really cool ghostly images with sort of light shining through. We had photography. We had several video pieces. This one I actually did work on. It was like this huge leaf thing. Very like new media, so if that's not your style, you might not like this, but I had fun. We had this back room where we had another video project going on in it, and this is just some more detail from the front room. We had these great pieces of paper that said, they were like a form, they said, while you were out, and then we wrote funny things on them essentially. It was funny. Okay, and then this is the piece I did in a separate room. It was a performance art piece. So there still was that sort of interplay between performance and sort of the visual. What this was is it started out as sort of a hoop and a net. I stood inside of it. I had objects placed on the ground, and then as people came in, they decided what objects they were going to hand me. And as they gave me this object, I would take it and hang it up in the net that was surrounding me, if that makes sense. So it was this performance art project. Funny story, I put the sign out with all the objects. I didn't intend anyone to hand me the sign, and someone did. I had to quickly figure out how I was going to attach that. Someone handed me their jacket, and I had to attach that and then unattach that so they could go outside again. So this is the performance art project. Okay, and then I included these for fun. One of my roommates does this death by art, she calls them. So every time she does a gallery show, she photographs the artists with sort of their art in death poses. So it just gives you some more detail. Here's the cardboard. These are my friends. Let's see. This is my death by art over here. This wasn't a collaborator. He just helped us tremendously setting up, so we decided he deserved a death by art photo too. Okay, so that was the project. And again, something I'm proud of, but something that I wish could have been more collaborative. Okay, let's see. Okay. I have my note cards so I don't forget anything. But I didn't look at them for a while. Okay. So, after this project, sort of the final thing is I wanted to sort of further research this idea of collaboration between mediums and how it's possible, and whether it's possible, because it really felt extremely difficult. Okay, so, shoot, I didn't even touch it, I don't think. Okay, there we go. So, zooming out a little bit and talking about sort of collaboration in art in general without focusing on my project. So what forms of art are we talking about? We described a lot of them as we went through the room, but theater, obviously. There's writing, creative writing. Sometimes that gets left out when we think about art. 3D art, 2D art, dance, film, design, music, photography. And so we know that these things often overlap kind of anyways. So, for example, theater, dance, and music frequently overlap. Sort of the center part is like your traditional musical theater that has all three. But they'll overlap in all different sorts of ways. And this is maybe one of the more obvious ones, but there's also theater and writing, playwriting as art, screenwriting as art, copywriting as art and design, and then compositional writing, music, and then how these things interweave. So compositional music for theater, compositional music for a film that you're working on. Just one more, 2D art, film, and photography. 2D art and photography are often considered basically the same thing, unless you're doing photography for design. And then of course film overlaps with these things a lot too. So this all to sort of say that we know the mediums often overlap, but do the artists? And I would contend that they often don't. I don't know what UVU's equivalent is, but at BYU we have the HVAC, and that's like the arts building. And we go into separate wings, and we don't really talk to each other at all. I'm sort of informally connected with a center at BYU called the Laycock Center. The Laycock Center, their only mission statement is to help collaboration between mediums. And they have money. They have so much money, guys. And they just want to give money at people. But this never happens. Even among professors, I was talking to someone who works sort of with the Laycock, and even professors, they come to the Laycock, they're like, I have this idea, and the Laycock has to be it's not collaborative, it's not actually reaching beyond your medium. So even professors have struggles with this. And I think students in particular, as you're sort of learning about your art form, you don't think to reach beyond it. Okay, so benefits and challenges sort of generally to the collaborative. Does someone want to read the positives? They have a happy face. Does anyone want to read this for me? Okay, please.
Idea generation, critical outsider, both for quality and ethical consideration.
Okay, great. I'll talk about these really fast. So idea generation, this is something we sort of know. When we surround ourselves with other creative types, it helps with our own ideas, and it helps expand our ideas. It's why Andy Warhol had the factory, so he could surround himself with other creative types. That's something we sort of know. There's also this critical outsider idea that we need someone to critique our art, and when that critique can also be someone who is then helping to expand the art, there's sort of inherent value in that, of having that outside perspective that can then also assist. Does that make sense? And that's both for quality, and that's a little bit more obvious, it helps the quality. But there's also ethical considerations that sometimes we don't realize when we create our art, sort of the ethical ramifications of what our art says or means or will impact other people. So having that critical outside perspective is really important. Okay, does someone want to say sort of the challenges? Yes, please.
Inhibit flow, losing clarity.
Right. Has anyone read Susan Cain's book, Quiet? Hey, yeah. It was a New York bestseller, so I figured I'll ask. It's about introversion, but she talks a lot also about sensitivity and creative types. And one of the things she brings up, sort of as a study of introversion, is that often creative types get in this sense of flow, and that when you're sort of surrounded by other people, that flow can be lost, that it can be inhibited. This is the idea of sort of the individual genius, which was discredited for a little while as we sort of got into this this notion of groupthink and like workspaces, but is starting to sort of come back up again, this idea of an individual genius. And then the other thing is losing clarity, which is just muddying our art or the clarity of our art through multiple people being involved. Okay, so has anyone heard of the term collaborative arts? What word would the collaborative arts be, even if you haven't heard of the term? Does it sort of make sense? Yeah.
would it be like the arts that all, kind of what you already talked about, that are already a collaborative, kind of, they go off each other?
That's a good guess, but it's more referring to specific art mediums. So like the single circles that we talked about, which ones are sort of inherently collaborative? Does this question make sense?
So like that.
Yeah, actually. Good, gold star. When people talk about collaborative arts, and I'm from a theater perspective, so a lot of the literature I've read is biased towards theater, but a lot of times they're talking about theater and film for two reasons. Firstly, because in order, and there are exceptions, there are one-man shows and such, but firstly, in order to get a theater show on stage or a film on the screen, you need a lot of people, and the second thing, you need a lot of people, and then you need a lot of people with very different skill sets. So you have your lighting designer who has an entirely different skill set and often mentality from your actor. Like, totally separate if you've ever worked in theater. Yeah. And then we sort of had dance, and I would argue that sometimes these are really more over here too. But dance and music, where often you also need a lot of people. In order to put on a symphony, you need a lot of people. In order to put on a dance show, you need a lot of people. Sometimes the skill sets aren't quite as diverse. To put on a symphony, you need sort of your conductor, and you need a lot of people who know music. But again, sometimes these sort of blur. But the least inherently collaborative, does anyone want to guess? Yeah.
2D studio art.
Yeah, we have 2D studio art, and then the other one that is really often not very collaborative. Can be, but often it's not, is writing. And this is the idea of sort of the visual artist who goes into their studio, or the writer who goes to their desk, and then is by themselves and can sort of focus in. Which again can be valuable with this idea of flow and clarity. But how can we sort of bridge these gaps? Okay, I want to be clear when we talk about this of a couple things. Okay, firstly, that just because a theater person is in more of a collaborative art does not mean that they are actually better at then collaborating with a visual artist. That just doesn't translate. Theater artists might have to collaborate within themselves and have a big group to put on a theater show, but they're often speaking the same language. They know what they mean when they talk about blocking, or when they talk about spotlights, or whenever they're talking about these things. They speak the same language. So it doesn't mean that a theater artist is inherently better than a visual artist in collaboration. And the other thing is, we of course have to account for sort of temperament. That there are some visual artists who are probably great at collaboration, that just sort of have that temperament, who want to collaborate. So we need to factor that in, and of course there are filmmakers who are notoriously bad at collaborating. So what I would suggest people who come from inherently collaborative arts are good at is, well, most importantly, relinquishing complete control, because they're trained to do that. A theater artist is trained not to think of it as sort of their show if they're an actor. Even directors often don't think of it as their show. So they are sort of inherently better at relinquishing control. The other thing that they might get more training in as artists is just the idea of communicating in general, sort of like good communication skills. So I'll leave that there, and I want to be sensitive to sort of the complications of saying that all visual artists are bad or all theater artists are good. That's not true. Okay, so I'm going to talk a bit more about challenges. I'm going to check my time. Okay, cool. I'm going to talk more about challenges that we face specifically and how these sort of can apply to different things. And these all have to do with sort of artistic philosophy. So I don't think it's too heady. You guys are all smart. Ready? The importance of aesthetic composition. This is something we ran into again and again, and what the balance is between sort of your content and your aesthetic composition. So for example, when we were trying to collaborate, I came up with an idea and we liked it, and it was the room, again, this idea of performance art. And then the audience would supply the artist with material, and the artist would take that material and then make something out of it, a painting or whatever the material that the audience gave them. So we liked the idea. It went with sort of what we were trying to go for, but there was no way of assuring that the end product would be aesthetically pleasing. And in the end, while I was okay with that as a theater major, a visual arts major came at it and wanted the end product to be aesthetically pleasing. So there was that conflict there. And again, aesthetic composition is important. Like neurologically, we like things that are well composed. So it's just that question that you have to consider when you're coming into these artistic collaborations of what the balance between those are. And I would suggest that as a theater practitioner, I have been trained to think more about content than a visual artist who has been trained to think more about aesthetics. And so we have those problems when we come together. Okay, another challenge, the product versus the process. This is actually very related to the last idea. As a theater practitioner, and probably there are other arts that you can think of that go along with this, I think more about process. Other artists think more about the product. Does anyone know this painting? Yes. And do you know why I would put, you're an artist, can I call you out?
Yeah.
Do you know why I would put a Pollock with this idea of product versus process?
Because some people think that this performance art, that the art was pouring paint on the canvases on the ground in his barn, and some people think that the art really is about the formal qualities and the finished product.
Yeah, exactly. So there's this question in the art world about whether it was the process of creating the art that was the art, or whether it's this end product that was the art. And again, different mediums will come from different perspectives on this. And this is a good example, actually, of visual art that can be viewed as process, where some visual artists can view it as product. So this one perhaps is not specific to medium, but more specific to the artist that comes at it, which is significant to note. Another challenge, the conception of audience, passive or active audience. And whether, not just whether the audience is passive or active, but whether the audience is periphery or integral. And different artists come at this with different perspectives. So for a dancer, correct me if I'm wrong, but would you consider, actually I'm just gonna ask you, would you consider the audience integral to your dance, your art, or periphery to your dance and your art?
It depends. It comes at the question you brought up, like, I mean, it's still in the art world too, of like, what is art?
Yeah.
I mean, it comes up with dance. What is dance? If I just flick my wrist, is that considered dance? Well, some people no, and other people, yes, it's moving. And then it brings up the question, well, who dances? Does the tractor in the field dance, or is it just humans? Is it animals? So it brings up all these questions. So with an audience, is the audience an integral part, or if it's just
Periphery.
Yeah, there we go.
Yeah.
It depends on the choreographer. It depends on the way they approach it too. For me, I like playing with both.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, no, that's
Still
a
trying
good
to find
answer.
my expression, like how I want to use the audience. Is it just a look what we did, it's really fun, or is it a look how we created it? You know?
Yeah. No, and I love that answer, because again, it points to this idea that some of these questions aren't specific to a medium, they're more specific to the artist that is approaching the question. But you can see that when artists who take opposite views on this question come and try and collaborate, why there's a lot of friction there. I think I have one more. Thesis versus impulse. This was probably actually the biggest issue that we ran into as we went to collaborate. And that is the idea of whether your art piece can come out of this impulsive place, this subconscious kind of genius, or or whether you need sort of a thesis and then you go to prove your thesis. And I've been trained as a theater artist that you sort of have your thesis, you have your director's statement, and then everything sort of goes together. This is often called new stagecraft. Everything comes together to sort of back that director's claim. Whereas when I was talking to my friends, who are brilliant artists, to be clear, like genius artists, they had a lot of trouble when I suggested my director's concept, when I said, this is what I think our art show should aim for. This is our concept. They struggled with that because they come from this place where if you have an impulse, then there can often be something valuable in that impulse. So do you do it to send a message, or do you do it because it feels right? And often these things is not one or the other for most artists. But I think different mediums do approach it from different directions. I think most theater artists I know approach it from this idea of like, you have your thesis, you have your director's concept. Okay, so, general tips for collaboration. I said before, I have a lot more questions than I have answers. But you know, because I feel like I need to provide some answers. Find good partners, open communication, and similar artistic philosophies. And it's this last one. These first two, I think, are sort of obvious. Like, good to be reminded of constantly, because it's hard. But a little bit more obvious, but similar artistic philosophies. This one is more complicated and a lot more difficult, I think. A lot more difficult. Because when you can approach something with a similar artistic philosophy, which is easier when you're in the same medium and you've been taught to think the same way, then it's a lot easier to collaborate. But when you come at it from different mediums that sort of establish and train you into different artistic philosophies, there's like tremendous difficulty in overcoming those. And that's what I found in sort of my failed collaboration. Okay, and like I said at the beginning, oh, never mind, I have this. Does anyone know what this is? Does anyone know the artist? Does anyone want to guess the artist? Okay. This is Dali in collaboration with, this is like my favorite thing ever. In collaboration with who? Does anyone want to guess based off this? Yeah.
Walt Disney.
Yeah. Have you seen this?
Yeah.
Okay. This is so great. It blows my mind. It makes me so happy this exists. This is a collaboration between Salvador Dali and Walt Disney, and it's a short film. You can look it up. It's called Destino, and it's just free on YouTube. It's become public access. And they started it in the 1930s, and then it never got, well, they didn't manage to finish it. So people were looking through Disney's notes many, many years later and discovered this and decided to finally finish animating it. So it finally was finished in 2003, and it's beautiful. I think it's one of the best examples of this kind of collaboration between a filmmaker and an animator who admittedly has a lot of experience with art, and then also an artist who comes very much from like the art world. And it's so beautiful. You guys should look it up. Okay, so like I said, where am I at with time? Okay, I have a lot more questions, and I know this is the time for you to ask me questions, so hopefully we can do a little bit of both. So how do artists think differently about their art? I really would like feedback. I want to know what you think. So can we do this sort of two-way where you can ask me questions and then I can ask you questions? Okay, does anyone have any ideas about sort of their art and how artists collaborate? Yeah.
Well, it's not really an idea, but something I've noticed, like a lot of documentaries, part of the art is actually filming it, but a lot of it is like this person, their goal is to do this, and it's something artistic, And this is the process, so it's kind of showing the process of the art, as well at the end, it's the, what was the word you used?
The product?
The product,
process
yeah.
of the product. Yeah, that's a really good point. A documentary film shows both. Yeah, here and then here.
I'd like to think that video games are the most inclusive art because, you know, you have to have painters to design the settings. You have to have actors and stuff to be able to voice act and bring to life a bunch of the characters and stuff. And a lot of cutscenes are actually filmed with motion capture cameras. You have to have good writing in order to make a video game work and stuff. So, you know, video game and as a video game designer, I just see all the different kinds of arts that you can pull in on one game.
That's cool. Have you played the game Her Story?
Her Story. Oh, I've been meaning to pick it up, but I haven't had it recently.
I played it recently. I'm not a gamer at all, but it was so good. Okay, here.
I noticed when we did our collaborative work,
Yeah.
you nailed it on the head, the philosophy. If the philosophy isn't like at least some sort of coherence within the group, then it doesn't thrive.
Yeah.
Because there was one point when we brought in our first pieces and we showed each other, we brought up the discussion, well, do we want this show to be yes, we need to like promote this idea and kind of have it be like, this is the message we're getting across to the audience? Or is it a show that we want to just bring awareness and not so much like kind of push an issue on anybody, but just let people know that these issues are where, you know? So when we talked about that, that was one of the like harder conversations because, you know, our personal beliefs come in and but you want to respect everybody's. And so what was so great is that the great artists that we were able to work with, they were willing to bend and sway in order to make the group a better thing. So it didn't end up being just the Jocelyn or the Shelley show or the Eric or Natasha, but it was us. And so we had to come to that, well, what is our main philosophy? What do we want to share? And when we decided that, then things were able to continue rolling instead of, we had that block. But yeah, sharing the same philosophy and approach is really important in collaboration.
Thank you. Here and then there.
I kind of feel like in the art, like in visual art, especially fine art, we're sort of moving in a direction of fewer, like less concentrated technical development and more in the direction of post-disciplinary practice.
Yeah.
And I'm curious as to why, but there's a difference between collaborating with somebody who has a different skill set than you do and post-disciplinary, like solo post-disciplinary practice. So what do you, like, what advantages do collaboration offer that post-disciplinary practice by itself doesn't offer?
Yeah, that's a good question. And I think it's the melding of minds. Because often I'll see, like this happened the other day, you know my roommate. So Pearl was like, hey, my art friend made this film. Will you look at it? And he was coming at it, and it was good.
Yeah.
But he was coming at it from this very visual arts perspective. Of like film as a visual medium, like as a painting and movement kind of a thing. And as someone who's worked in film, I don't think it hit the same notes for me. I guess, so it's this idea of melding of minds, of like ideas expanding. But I think also there's a big question about accessibility in art and whether art needs to be accessible. But I think when you let other people into your process, then you also are able, you talked about this in your session, you're also able to sort of connect with wider audiences. I'm a little bit tired of theater that is about plays, like plays that are about plays. Oh, I see you.
Okay.
Sorry. of plays about plays or about art that is just about art or about poetry that is just talking about words. And I think when we collaborate, we expand beyond that. Yeah, that's a great question. Did you have a comment? Or
Yeah, I'll be really quick. I'll
Okay.
have 1 minute. I just wanted to add that I think what made, for me at least, our process so easy was the openness, like she said, to mold and to change. And not every, like, we all came in it with like okay, this is a collaborative process. We need to be open to other people's ideas and suggestions rather than, I really want it this way, but I can't write, so you have to write it this way, A, B, and C.
Yeah.
It was just, what do you think? And it was very open.
I wonder if it does come, like collaboration maybe is stickler, is because as artists, it's who we are. Like we're so passionate about, like it's personal for us.
Yeah.
So when people don't want to like change or want to mold or like be open, as Shelley was saying, then it's hard and that conflict happens. But if you find artists, like how you said, find good artists to work with who are willing to do that, you'll be able to reach different goals that you may have never even knew were there.
No, I like that a lot. I thought your project, if I can like talk back, I thought your project was like, I sort of want to do your project now.
Join us.
I thought what also works so well is this like willingness to bend, but also this sort of codified structure that you knew, like this round robin that you went into it with. For those who weren't in her section or session breakout, she did a collaborative process where they sort of swapped mediums, not swapped mediums, but swapped
Product of the medium and infused your own.
Yeah, and so there was sort of structure to it, and I think that would be very helpful in future collaborative projects. Okay, I don't have much time. This is, if you're really interested in collaboration, I'm trying to research this more, and there's not a ton of research. There's just not a lot of literature. Like there's a lot of literature within like collaboration between, like within a medium. There's a lot less between mediums. So feel free to get in contact with me. This is my email, and I'd love to hear from you and hear your ideas some more. Okay, so that's it. Good. And if you have any other ideas, you can come talk to me.